Hey everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. Clean the store top to bottom. Don't leave until you do. Yes, boss. This happened when I worked in retail around 2005. I was 15. I was working at a very small grocery store, and although it was a small store, we were always busy, as it was near a popular beach and along a highway rest area. The night before, I'd worked from 12 a.m. until 6 a.m. packing shelves. There was a huge delivery coming in that had to be stocked for the next day. I was offered double time pay for the shift, so I jumped at the chance to work it. At 12 p.m. that afternoon, 6 hours after finishing the packing shift and barely getting 5 hours of sleep, I got a call from the assistant manager, Fran, who wanted me to come in to work a shift. I explained that I just finished a shift and had only had a few hours of sleep. But the other girl is called in sick and you're the closest person. I lived in the motel next door. My family were managing the motel at this point. Me too naive to know that I didn't legally have to come in and should have been paid overtime for working back-to-back shifts. Fine, but I'm working on 5 hours sleep, so don't expect me to do much. I got dressed and walked like a zombie to the store. When I arrived, we were extremely quiet, with the occasional customer every 10 minutes or so. I was surprised she called me in at all, considering that even on a busy day, one person can run the store on their own. Fran, around 2 p.m. I'm going on my break. Will you clean the store while I'm gone? I pick up a duster, knelt down on my knees, and proceeded to dust underneath the shelves. It had been thoroughly cleaned during the 6-hour packing shift I'd done a few hours ago, so it didn't need to be mopped. No, not like that. You need to get under the shelf to clean it. Why can't you do it? I'm exhausted and I'm doing my best not to fall asleep on the spot. I'd informed her that I'd done the midnight packing shift. You have to do it. I have a bad back. Fran then proceeded to grab the duster and lean down, against OH&S bending guidelines, and dusted underneath the shelf to demonstrate, making it look easy for someone who claimed to have a bad back. I'm going on my 15-minute break, and by the time I come back, I want the floors to be spotless. Don't do anything else. Absolutely. Spotless. Gotcha. It was 2:02 p.m. at this point, and I knew that any minute now, there would be a tour bus arriving. It arrived around 2 p.m. every day. Cue the malicious compliance. I started cleaning under every shelf and every display like my life depended on it. And a few minutes after Fran had left, customers began to trickle in. But I was under strict instructions to only clean under the shelves. Customers began to queue at the register. This was before there were self-serve registers. Customer, after noticing I was there but not serving them, "Hello? Are you working? Can I get some service, please?" "I'm so sorry, sir." Bringing out my innocent puppy dog eyes and red, tear-dusted eyes from lack of sleep. I was told I had to clean the floors and I wasn't allowed to do anything else. I really don't want to lose my job. The customer stormed out of the store and a few minutes later came back with Fran in tow. She had been outside smoking. Customer addressing Fran, "This poor young lady is in tears because you threatened her job. Fran, you have to stop doing this to your staff. Frank," the manager in charge of Fran, "will be hearing about this." Me feeling brave and empowered by this, "I told you I'm working on 5 hours of sleep after working all night with Frank packing shelves. I'm going to go home to sleep. I believe you have some customers that need serving." I was so tired and angry that I didn't care if I was fired, so I went home and slept for most of the afternoon. It turned out that that customer was one of Frank's close friends and was the driver of the tour bus that arrived every day. I turned up to work my regular shift the next day and explained to Frank everything that had happened and how Fran had treated me. He told me to go back to work and he would take care of it. Fran got a harsh talking to about her behavior and conduct in the workplace and was let go. This was her final warning, as she had been doing this for months to other staff members. Assistant managers don't have as much power as they think they do. Oh, and her bad back? She didn't have any back issues. She just used this excuse to not have to do anything at work. I never saw a friend in work uniform after that, but she did come in from time to time to buy groceries. We were the only grocery store in the area, apart from a takeaway shop. I'd always give the same, "Hi, welcome to store location. How are you today?" with the biggest grin on my face. Boy, was that sweet. So if you were in OP's shoes and you were there until 6 a.m. packing shelves, went to sleep and got called at 12 p.m. that you need to come in for another shift, what would you have done or said? Let me know in the comments below. You're not to get involved in your mom's Facebook stuff. My dad's words years ago when I started a discussion with my mom over some dumb racist stuff she said on Facebook. Facebook brings out the worst in my mother, who in real life used to be a lovely woman, but over the years got lost in her echo chamber of stupidity. I tried getting her out, but I'm not to get involved in my mom's Facebook stuff. Today, there was an illegal protest in my city. A protest organized on Facebook by the lowest of the low of our society. We have a group of about 100 delusionals in the country who are actually willing to get from behind their keyboards and disrupt public transport in my city, any opportunity they can get in the name of the people. My parents, not a part of the 100 but seemed to be well on their way, went to today's protest. The protest was illegal. They were told to separate and leave. They didn't. They got arrested. Ha ha. They didn't have any form of identification on them, so they were not allowed to leave. My dad called for the first time this afternoon asking me to go to their place, pick up the IDs, and then the police station. I asked if this was about the Facebook event. He said yes. I said, I better not get involved then. Hung up and ignored his next 17 calls. My aunt apparently went to pick them up later tonight, and everyone's pissed at me saying I'm a traitor except for my grandma, who called to say she misses me and I haven't been able to get the grin off my face. At least OP has grandma to rely on. That's always a nice comfort. Bring your own dishwasher pods to work day. So thanks to shutdowns, the daycare I work at finally recently obtained a loan and was able to bring back the employees they furloughed. I wasn't really happy with how they chose to lay everyone off since they just stopped talking to us after informing us they had no hours and no idea if we'd even have a job later. Then management got an attitude when I said I'd have to adjust my hours due to the new job I had to obtain to pay bills. I work in the kitchen at this daycare. Rolled up for my first day back and started my usual tasks. As I'm loading the dishes in the dishwasher, one of the assistant managers, who hates me, walks by with an evil smile and informs me due to budget cuts, we'll be hand washing everything from now on. Side note, how is that more cost effective since it uses a ton of hot running water and dish soap? Also, it's not as sanitary and that's kind of important. I ask her if I bring dishwasher pods, may I use the dishwasher again? She says yes. So I go to Target and buy some. 2 months supply for like $18. Perfect. Makes my life so much easier. Now, being the petty individual I am, I decide that only I get to use those pods. I'm not there a couple days a week thanks to working elsewhere. The assistant manager does kitchen duty when I'm not around. So each day, I've been bringing in 1 pod only for my load of dishes. Days I'm not there, well, that's not my problem. She did say if I brought the pods, I could use the dishwasher. I hope the assistant manager gets to think long and hard about it when they're doing the dishes by hand. You can't take the dirty dishes to the kitchen? Fine, you can have them. I used to work in a soccer stadium in a VIP box area running food and beverages from kitchens, cool rooms to the boxes. So the stadium was going through a bit of renovations and therefore they built a bunch of marquees on scaffolding for the guests. Because it was a temporary structure, we didn't have a kitchen attached like all the other boxes, and all the food needed to be brought from the kitchen from the opposite side of the stadium. So once the guests finished eating, I have to take all the dirty dishes, stacked about 6 feet high, on bread crates all the way back to the kitchen on the other side of the stadium where the dishwashers are. To go to this kitchen, you have to take a lift to the second floor and go into a VIP bar area and do a sharp U-turn into the kitchen. Malicious compliance. We had a manager. Let's call him David. He took care of that section and the VIP guests. He had spiky hair, overly self-confident, and was a know-it-all type dude. So I took all the dirty dishes halfway around the stadium, took the lift, and was going to push the cart into the VIP bar like I have done 100 times, and I meet David. He was like, "Where are you going?" I told him I was taking the dishes to the kitchen, and then he was like, "No, you can't take it into the VIP bar." I'm like, "I'll be in there for 2 seconds and we'll be inside the kitchen." He was still like, "No, you can't take it," firmly. I was tired of walking all the way across and wasn't going to argue with him. So I said fine and left the cart with dirty, smelly dishes stacked to the height of a human right outside the entrance to the bar. Because in the stadium, there is not much space to move around. And I left and told my supervisor what happened. So, all night, all the VIP guests, the shirt sponsors, club shareholders, everyone got into the lift to go to the bar, and when the door opened, was greeted with a huge stack of unwashed dishes. Next week, my supervisor called and said to me, "You can take the dishes into the bar to take to the kitchen from now on, no problem." Apparently, poor dishwashers had to wash the dishes early into the morning hours after everyone had left. Sometimes compromises need to be made, especially in a temporary situation like this where there's just really no other good choice. Talk louder. This is short and sweet. My grandfather was watching the news while I was talking to my grandmother and niece. Now, my normal voice admittedly carries fairly well. He asked, "Could you talk any louder?" My job requires that I'm able to project, so I proceed to turn towards him and say loudly, "Yes, I can." I then turn back to my grandmother, who's trying not to laugh, and continue in that louder voice for a few beats before dropping it while he grumbles. I'm bored and he's likely to make the same comment tomorrow. As long as you stay on that same level with your grandmother and you make her laugh, you'll probably be pretty alright. Myself and a toilet seat finally get a win from Australia's NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme. I'm hoping this fits, but I was so darn happy that I had to share it somewhere. It's not the most amazing thing ever, but for anyone who has dealt with these buggers, you will appreciate it. I'm on a mobile, so sorry if formatting is a pain. Quick backstory. A number of years ago, Australia's disability services swapped over to a nationwide scheme known as the NDIS. It's been a bloody nightmare for some of us. I battled for a few years to get my son registered. To give you an example, if you aren't on the NDIS, you don't get the proper assistance. Bad, there are people with cystic fibrosis who have been knocked back because it's potentially curable. Go figure, right? So, I finally get my son's plan, and as a part of it, we are allowed to get some equipment from our local disability services shop to help his day-to-day living. I go in the first day, I put the order in, and they tell me I can pick the stuff up in a few days once they fill out their paperwork. They will call when it's done. Okay. So a week passes and no call. So I get in contact. And the response I get is, "Oh no, sorry, we haven't filled it out yet. We'll get on it now." 2 weeks pass, so I call back. This time, the right person to fill the forms out hasn't been in, so oops, they will track them down and get right on it. Week 3 dawns, and I am in town, so I decide bugger it rather than calling, I'm going in. I walk in and it's packed, and with not just customers but also employees. I wait my turn, tell them my problem, cue once more the response, "Oh, the paperwork isn't done, we will go find someone to talk to you." A few minutes later, someone else comes out and says once more, "Sorry, the paperwork isn't done, but it shouldn't take us too much longer." I figure freak it. I am not in a major rush, and while all the normal seating is taken, there's a disability toilet seat at the side of the desk. One of those big ones that fit over a normal toilet. So I smile and say it's fine. I can wait, pull up the seat and park my butt at the side of the counter and just start smiling at him. The person I was talking to obviously expected me to go, so they start stammering and stuttering about going to talk to someone in Bolts. You can picture how uncomfortable it would have looked for them. Those seats look really silly on their own in a setting that isn't a bathroom. 5 minutes later, they are back. 2 of them this time. Once more, they tell me it will take them some time to fill the forms. Again, I continue to smile and say all good, I am in no hurry. They both bolt. Another 5 minutes and the actual manager sticks their head round the corner to see if I am still there. And wouldn't you know it, they come out and tell me all that was needed was my address, the NDIS number, and the items I needed. I was then allowed to take the stuff and go. So I guess as a basic rundown, 10 minutes of making the buggers as uncomfortable as possible, and not only did I get my stuff, but the people who stuffed us around are now in trouble because it should not take 3 weeks to fill out a form that asks for 3 questions. I guess they try to handle it where they hope you'll give up before you actually go all the way through and receive something. So, maybe the people who needed less than OP would end up giving up and just dealing with the situation, which is pretty disgusting. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today. So what I want to know is which of these stories was your personal favorite and why? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you all so much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.